If you're in the construction industry, you know that safe work method statements are not optional. They're required on every high-risk job. And if you're still doing them the traditional way, you're probably spending 30 to 60 minutes per SWMS, copying and pasting from old documents and hoping you didn't miss a critical control. Now, I used to be a project manager dealing with this exact process, but now I'm the internal AI specialist at a construction company. And I've spent the last few months building and deploying AI systems to solve the problems I used to face. Now, these aren't just any demos, production-ready systems that real people rely on every single day. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact system that I built to automate SWMS generation for my client. I took a process that used to take up to 60 minutes and turned it into a 3-minute form submission. So here's the plan. I'll show you what the manual process looked like, walk you through the automated solution, break down exactly what this saves in time and money, and then if you want to stick around, I'll show you exactly how this system works behind the scenes. Now, if you're new here, I'm Nathan. I'm building TwinStream AI with my twin brother Daniel. And on this channel, we share what we're learning from being in the trades, understanding the real problems, and then identifying the right solutions and implementing solutions that actually work in real businesses. All right, so let me paint the picture of how this used to work. So let's just say a project manager gets assigned to a job. Say, for example, a 500-ton warehouse using a 130-ton crane. So they'll obviously need a SWMS, which is a safety document before the work starts. So they'd go into OneDrive or SharePoint, find the Word template, and start filling it out manually. Now, first, the basic information. The SWMS name, revision number, date, who prepared it, their signature, name, contact, email, then the project location and task description. Then next comes the high-risk work matrix. They tick checkboxes for things like falls greater than 2 meters, operation of mobile slewing crane, pretty straightforward. Then they document the resources, so things like who was consulted, what qualifications are required, is it white cards, dogman tickets, crane operator licenses, what plant they're using, what permits they need, what PPE is required. But here's where it gets time consuming. So they have to create what's called a high risk work table. This is the core of the document. It's where you identify every high risk category relevant to the job, break down the work steps, identify the hazards, and document the controls. And the way that they do this is they copy and paste them from previous documents. They'd search through old files, try and find like some similar jobs. They'll copy the relevant sections, modify them for the current project, and then they'd hope that they didn't miss anything critical. Now, this process used to take up to 60 minutes per SWMS, and with businesses with multiple projects, you're doing this constantly. So I came up with a solution to fix this exact issue. So here's what I built. The project manager goes to a form, they fill out the job details such as project name, task description, builder information. They select the high risk categories from a drop down, they list the plant they're using, the permits they need, and they hit submit. 3 minutes later, they get a draft SWMS document with all the relevant job specific information required, particularly the hazard control section, because that's the most time consuming part. So the system takes information from knowledge bases that I've curated, filters them down to only what's relevant, and then it uses AI to structure the information and then eventually format it into a structured HTML document that can be opened in Word. So with this new process, you don't have to copy and paste, you don't have to go and check out old documents, and there's definitely no risk of including forklift controls when you're operating a crane. Now, that's the breakdown of the system from a high level, but let me show you exactly what it'll look like for the businesses that are running it. The old process, 30 to 60 minutes per SWMS. Let's just be conservative and say 30 minutes per SWMS, all right? If a project manager is doing this once a week, that's 2 hours a month just on SWM documentation. For a company running multiple projects simultaneously, multiply that by however many project managers you have. And so the new process, what I created, means a 3-minute form submission and the system does the rest. Now that's like up to 90% reduction in time. 30 minutes down to 3. So let's calculate this. How much money are you actually saving? So let's just say you're paying a project manager $50 an hour. That's $25 per SWMS in the old system versus essentially 0 in the new one. Scale that across a year. Let's just say 50 SWMS documents. You're saving over $1,200 in direct labor costs. And that's just for one project manager. But the bigger win isn't even time. It's the consistency. Every single SWMS now follows the exact same structure. It includes the relevant controls and it eliminates the copy paste errors that could actually get people hurt on site. Hey guys, quick one. If you're a business owner who's interested in what AI automation can do for your business, you can get in touch with us at TwinStream AI with one of the links down in the description. We'll take you through the entire implementation process, starting with identifying the right solutions, but all the way through to building the systems and providing the ongoing support to keep everything running smoothly. Now, I'm the internal AI specialist at a construction company here in Australia, so it's fair to say that I know exactly where AI can fit into your operations. Trust me, you're in good hands. All right, so if you want to see exactly how I built this, then let me walk you through the exact system step by step. All right, so I'll dive straight into it. So this is the N8N workflow. So this is where the whole automation actually happens for generating these swims. And so essentially it starts off with a webhook. So a webhook is basically calling information from another platform. And so in this case, my client was using monday.com for a lot of their project management. And so I wanted to keep it within their tech stack and set up the form submission on monday.com for them. And so I'll show you guys exactly what that form looks like. So the swims request form, and it basically has enough questions to be able to get the most relevant information out to then go and create accurate swims, because obviously we want to make sure that all the hazards, all of the controls, all of the risks associated are all covered within the swims, so that this is just a revision one, and when we go back to the builder, they're not asking for things that we're missing. So I'll show you guys exactly how this form gets filled out, and then how that information then gets transferred through the workflow and generates us a swims document that's ready to be sent to the builder. So we're gonna start with the swims name. So swims name, we're gonna go with Milpera Industrial Warehouse, project number 411. Location, we'll just go with Milpera. Revision, we'll go with number 1. Generated on, so we're gonna go with today's the 28th of the 2nd, 2026. And required by, I don't have that as a required field to fill out. That's just in case they do want the swims by a certain date, they can fill that in there as well. Project manager name, we're gonna go with myself here, Nathan Hancock. We'll go info@danandnath.com, 61. We'll go 400111222. Builder, we're gonna go with Lend Lease. Builder contact name, we'll just go with Daniel Hancock for this example. We'll go with just test@gmail.com. This one doesn't really matter, like the builder information is just there so that when we do send it to the builder, it's correctly filled out. But one of the most important ones is the project manager email, because this is where the swims is actually going to get sent to. And so this information here are just basically filling in the placeholders for the builder's information, because that's obviously something that you also have to include within the swims. So the builder contact phone, we'll just go with 61, we'll go 411222333. Task or scope description, installation of structural steel warehouse using cranes, boom lifts, scissor lifts, telehandlers. Now, you don't really need to go and put that in. Sometimes I just like to put a bit extra in there, because this is only just the description at the top of the swims, but it doesn't actually have any input of the hazard controls table, which we'll get to shortly as well. Known planer equipment, we'll go mobile slewing crane, boom lift, scissor lift, telehandler. High risk categories. So we've got risk of falls greater than 2 meters, and we've got working in an area with movement of powered mobile plant. Known qualifications. So if you're drilling into concrete, you'd be including silica awareness training. General induction card is obviously for everyone, because that's a white card. High risk work license, we'll go boom lifts over, scissor lift tickets, working at heights, and we'll go crane operator. And dogman or dogging ticket. Known permits, we'll go with hot works and working at heights. Any additional information, so work near overhead power lines. So for example, when I was actually going through and creating this workflow, you get these sort of edge cases or different examples from different projects that might not actually be very common. And so these additional notes or other additional circumstances or works on suspended slabs are basically just those extra form fill outs, just in case you do have a very rare case that could potentially come up on your job. And so they're just some additional ways to be able to make sure that you're capturing the correct information. And so from there, once we've filled out that form, that's all done. We'll just click on submit. And so if we take a look at the executions tab, this is going to tell us if the workflow is running. So you can see there. So once this finishes, it's going to pop up and show us that the workflow has been successfully completed. And that will also mean that the swims document has been sent to the correct email. All right, so we've received our email. So we'll open up this Google document to check out the final output. And so here we go. We've got all of the relevant job specific information that we went through and filled out at the start of the form. And so it's just in a clean and structured format. We've got our high risk work matrix with the risk of falls greater than 2 meters and the work in an area with movement of powered mobile plant. High risk work categories ticked off as well. You can see the checkbox. We've got the qualifications required. We've got the plant required, the PPE, permits, and then just some other general formatting that was already built in the initial swims that my client was using. And so I just wanted to transfer over most of that same formatting, but also still be able to provide it within this document itself as well. And so we've got our risk analysis matrix, the hierarchy of controls. And then here's where the real stuff happens. So this is the hazard controls table. When creating swims, this is the most time-consuming part of the entire process. And so with this new form submission, we've taken a process that could take up to an hour and brought it down to about just 5 minutes. And so this workflow obviously has a number of steps to help with getting the correct information. And so it starts with extracting information from a hazard controls table. So the hazard controls table is what I generated from a ton of different prior historical swims documents. And then I was able to get AI to scan through all those documents and basically provide me with a CSV output that I could then put into Airtable. And so now I've got it within this specific database that I'm now able to query from this automation platform N8N and then be able to tell the AI, you can use these as examples, just match them with what was written in the form so that the answers are correct. And basically, in simple terms, that's how the whole workflow works. And so in the end, we get our high risk work steps, associated or identified hazards with the risk level, and then obviously our risk or hazard controls with a revised risk level as well. And so this formatting, obviously with the orange heading, isn't typical for everyone's swims. But again, this was what we were using with our previous swims templates. And so I wanted to try and keep it as close to our original format as possible. And so you can see through here, we've got use of a mobile slewing crane, telehandler or forklift operations, operation of boom lifts, operation of scissor lifts, EWP emergency retrieval, working around exposed live edges, and then even use of chemical anchor and grout. And then obviously at the end where we can go and sign off and provide to the builder. And so that's basically it, guys. That's the entire workflow right there. You fill out a form, you get this docx file, and you're able to modify it if there is anything you may want to include or change, and then you're able to download that as a PDF and send it over to the builder for final approval. All right, guys, I hope you got a bit of value out of this one. Now, if you're a construction company or agency that are looking to implement this type of system, then feel free to reach out to me at Twinstream AI with one of the links down in the description. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe for more content like this, which is real lessons from building AI systems in real businesses. I'll see you in the next one.